they're back in action on Saturday against the Washington Capitals with Tom Wilson. They returned to practice earlier this week, and Evgeni Malkin said, I have something to say. Next season for Evgeni Malkin is going to be year 20 in the National Hockey League. It'll be his fourth and final year of his current contract, and many have speculated, us included, that that's it, that Evgeni Malkin is done after next year. Evgeni Malkin himself doesn't quite like the speculation about his future. Malkin told Rob Rossi of The Athletic earlier this week, quote, I'm not retiring. I know what some people say, that I go back to Russia and play for my home team, but I never said that. I retire with Pittsburgh. The Penguins are my team. I love this team. When I retire, it's here. I'm not going to play in Russia after Pittsburgh. Maybe one game for the home team in Russia, just one to say goodbye. You got to love Evgeni Malkin for a large portion of that quote saying, this is it. I'm playing here. I'm not going to Russia. Well, maybe one game. Let's not close the door on that completely, but maybe one game just to say goodbye to Magnitogorsk over in Russia.
I didn't listen to or hear the full quote or see the full quote, and that is just the most Malkin quote of all time. Just, no, don't worry, I'm staying here. I'm going to go play a game. Maybe a season.
One game.
He's going to play a season over there. Let's just be real. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I don't think anyone's going to begrudge a Russian player for wanting to play a season in Russia because he hasn't done that since he was a child.
Mm-hmm. Well, the lockout in 2012, but pretty much he was still a child.
Oh, yeah. Well. But, yeah, I don't think anyone's going to begrudge him for that, but also at the same time, it's nice hearing the commitment to Pittsburgh, the commitment to the Penguins. Not that we needed to hear it. We kind of already knew it, at least me and you. And I mean, for what it's worth, I'm not gonna ask that he plays another season after next, but it's up to him. Like he's one of those players that it is totally up to him. If he wants to continue playing with this team, take a small contract, but by all means, we'll have you around as a depth center, as a depth forward. I mean, again, those are discussions of, the skill discussions can be had at a later date, but the commitment to the team for one of the all-time greatest, for a no doubt Hall of Famer, and for one of the best in franchise history, that's a good little bit to hear that his commitment is and always has been to the city of Pittsburgh and the Penguins, and we've been hearing it from him for years. He's more vocal about it than any of the three.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now if you had to guess, you kind of leaned towards your thought process here in your answer there, but do you think he could sign another contract in Pittsburgh? Because next year is his age 39 season. And like I mentioned, year 20 in the National Hockey League. Do you think he signs another one? And if he does, obviously he's going to take a pay cut. He went from 9.5 to 6.1 a year after putting up over a point per game. If this pattern repeats itself in 2025-6, I think he would know that, hey, I need to take a little bit less, even though the salary cap is going to be substantially higher after next season.
Yeah, I would still say he would have to take a pay cut regardless, just because
he's not going to be a second line center if he comes back. He might not be a second line center next year. So he certainly wouldn't when in year 40 or, his age 40 season in year 21.
Yeah, it would be a tough call. Like I said, depends on where the team is too. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to kick him out the door by any means, but at the same time, if this team believes they can do well and can have success, oof, man, he'd be a tough one to suck up a roster spot almost if he's not proving he can perform to at least a percentage of what he has been. Because I've already kind of badmouthed his season this year, and I looked at the numbers again and went, wow, the eye test isn't great, but the assist numbers at least aren't bad. There is still some usefulness to his game, but something about that age and that eye test isn't helpful.
Yeah, a lot of people have, danced on his grave in the past, though, and I understand that was the past, and he wasn't 38 years old. He didn't accrue as many injuries as he's accrued. Obviously, he had the 2 healthy years the last 2 seasons, but this year now he's had 2 separate injuries since the beginning of the 2025 calendar year. But he has had a few of those, and you've kind of coined this term, the I am comeback doors. He's had a few. I mean, he missed the back half of the 2020-21 season and then the front half of the 2021-22 season. Everybody said, well, is he going to have anything left in the tank? Well, he comes out, he scores 42 points in 41 games, including 20 goals. So that's a 40-goal pace at the end of the 2021-22 season. earned himself another contract in Pittsburgh, and then put up 83 points in 82 games played to start that contract. So is there a chance that he's able to do it at 39? I mean, he did it at 36, but I understand a lot has changed since then. Maybe that move to wing gives him a little bit of a burst. Maybe that, slight drop in responsibility gives him a little bit more to give in the offensive zone, and maybe playing with, I'm just throwing names out there, but a Trevor Zegras would reinvigorate his offensive numbers, would reinvigorate specifically his goal totals. So I don't know. I think that when it comes to whether or not he'll sign another contract, I think I'd still be surprised if it did happen because his numbers have fallen off. But at the same time, the Penguins aren't winning anything this year. They're unlikely to turn it around to win something next year. If Evgeni Malkin and the Penguins organization look like the following year is the year, that at very least they're going to be back in the playoffs and they're going to be able to make some noise because they have built up this young core group, I wouldn't be surprised if Malkin's like, I want to be a part of that. Like in any way, shape, or form, I want to be a part of one last run with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And that was part of Rob Rossi's piece yesterday too. He said Nikita's never seen, at least has never been old enough to see us go on a run in the playoffs in Pittsburgh. And that's something that he wants to see. So if the Penguins are bad this year, which they are, if the Penguins don't make the playoffs again next year, but they look like they're trending in the right direction, I wouldn't be surprised if he said, just give me one more year. Give me one more chance to ride it into the playoffs with Sid and the Penguins and ride off into the sunset after a hopefully championship, but more than likely after a semi-successful playoff run, which is what you can maybe expect in the 2026-27 season. So I wouldn't rule it out, but like I said, I would still be very surprised if he signed that next contract and played at the age of 40.
That would be too. I'd be stunned, honestly, because I remember over the summer, we wrote something on Breakaway on SI about him discussing post-NHL plans. Found the quote. It wasn't necessarily him committing to Russia at all. It was just more of he says he has 2 more years left in Pittsburgh, and we'll have to see what his health is and what the situation is by then. So there was no full commitment to Russia back then. Mm-hmm. Clearly, it sounds like there isn't a full commitment now, aside from maybe a game. So it'll be interesting to see. And I know his frenemy, I think, as Yoey or
Rossi wrote it yesterday.
Rossi coined it as Ovechkin's planning on, I think, doing a whole season in Moscow after he, breaks the record and finishes up his NHL career. But for Malkin, it's a bit different, I think, because he did plant so many seeds in America and in Pittsburgh, and he does want to just be a Penguin forever. And he's always been the one that's the most vocal about this situation and where the team is in a blunt fashion. So I'd say, if this team is building something by then, maybe you give him the 1 year, the 1 year farewell tour, essentially like Fleury's getting, where he didn't have a deal coming into the season, but he knew he wanted to make this his last. Throw him a couple of bucks, sit him on. Fleury's a backup this season. Throw him on a third line, on a wing or something, and just play out the year. I could see that happening too. So we'll see. Again, this is one of those situations that we'll see what the team looks like. We'll see what his skill level is and what his health is. Let's be honest here. Yeah, he had 2 straight healthy seasons, but we knew that wasn't going to last forever. So we'll see what his health is, what the skill level is at, where the team is, and then cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, I just don't expect it, but at the same time, wouldn't be surprised. Very roundabout answer of saying whatever happens, I'm not shocked by.
The one thing we can do for sure, and the one thing that I am excited that he said this because of, you can stop the Evgeni Malkin to Dallas rumors. You can stop the Evgeni Malkin to wherever rumors because he's not playing for another team. He has a full no movement clause. The Penguins have no interest in moving him. And now, as we heard from the horse's mouth yesterday, he has no interest in playing anywhere else.